But first, the hot topic of the hour. President Trump says that he will announce his choice for the chairman of the Federal Reserve this morning. It is widely expected to be former Federal Reserve Governor Kevin Warsh, who met with the president at the White House yesterday. The commander-in-chief telling reporters on the red carpet last night during the premiere of Melania at the Trump Kennedy Center that he will be announcing his pick this morning. Watch.
What day will you be announcing your Fed chair pick next week?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. And do you know who you pick?
I do.
What exactly tipped that person over the edge?
I'd rather say it tomorrow, but just an outstanding person and a person that won't be too surprising to people. A lot of people think that this is somebody that could have been there a few years ago. It's going to be somebody that is very respected, somebody that's known to everybody in the financial world.
Warsh was notably considered for the job in President Trump's first term before he ended up going with Jay Powell, whose term is up in May. I spoke with Kevin Warsh about his outlook on the Federal Reserve and policy back in July last year. Watch this.
The president's right to be frustrated with Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve. Inflation comes when the government spends too much. That's the spending you're talking about, and prints too much. The president took a good shot at putting the fiscal house in order through this tax bill. The U.S. is on the cusp of, I think, a radical improvement in our productive capacity. Why is it that money and financial conditions are so loose on Wall Street and considerably tighter on Main Street? Because the Fed has the policy mix exactly wrong. It has a big balance sheet like we're in the 2008 crisis or the 2020 pandemic, and has rates that are too high. It needs to shrink the Fed balance sheet and cut interest rates.
And that was Kevin Warsh with me last year. Gentlemen, good morning to you. Great to have you this morning. Your reaction, EJ, to Kevin Warsh potentially being the next chairman?
I think it'd be a great pick. This is a guy who understands, Maria, that as he was just articulating, the Fed needs to be the central bank for the entire economy, not just Wall Street. And you need to basically undo the entire novel monetary framework that Ben Bernanke first started building and that Jerome Powell put on steroids. So that means, as he said, you have to get the balance sheet down. And that doesn't mean that rates have to go up. In fact, you can get rates for Main Street and for the Treasury, by the way, down. And I think Kevin Warsh is the guy to do that.
Yeah, when I spoke with him at that time, he said the Fed has lost its way. It's lost its way on supervision. It's lost its way on monetary policy. All that big money on the big fancy buildings is just another indication, is what Kevin Warsh told me then. Your thoughts?
Well, that seems to be what President Trump has been saying essentially this whole time. Yeah. And it is interesting with the Fed because before President Trump, it really wasn't talked about. I mean, in your world, it was talked about a lot, but sort of more broadly, people need to realize how impactful it is on their lives, whether it's interest rates, whether it's inflation. And I think President Trump is going to pick someone that he's comfortable with. You see all of his other cabinet picks. These are people he's personally comfortable with. And if he had a good meeting with them, that makes a lot of sense. And you think some of the other people like Bassett and Hassett are so valuable within the administration and such trusted allies that he may want to keep them close because they're doing such a phenomenal job. And particularly with the economy, we're looking at, 4-5% growth. We're really on a great track for 2026. So I don't think he wants to upset that.
It's true. I mean, 5% growth. Is that what you're expecting, EJ? Because that's what Louis Navellier told us to expect last month.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if we do get a 4 handle on the fourth quarter of last year. And I think 5 handles for quarterly reports this year are absolutely within the realm of possibility.
Real quick, let's hit this because President Trump is also reopening Venezuelan airspace as the White House seeks a reset in terms of the new acting government after the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Watch this.
I just spoke to the president of Venezuela, informed her that we're going to be opening up all commercial airspace over Venezuela. American citizens will be very shortly able to go to Venezuela, and they'll be safe there. It's under very strong control. And the people of formerly of Venezuela, some want to go back and some want to go back to visit, and they're going to be able to do that.
Jonathan, what do you think? All flights between the countries have been halted since 2019. American Airlines becoming the first commercial liner to restart flights. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio told lawmakers on Wednesday that the U.S. also plans to reopen its embassy in Venezuela. Jonathan.
This is great news, and it just shows how quickly this administration's moving on this, which is really important for the people of Venezuela to have the ability to participate in commerce, to travel, and all of these things. And it's so important to get to raise their standard of living and their quality of life for this to ultimately be successful. And President Trump knows you can't, it's not just the government. You need the economy and everything else. It's all part of life and what makes things work in a society.
EJ, what does all that new oil on the market mean for oil prices in your view in 2026?
More downward pressure, and that means not only lower prices at the pump, but lower prices throughout the economy because energy affects everything we do and everything we buy. Yet another example of disinflationary pressure in this economy under the president.
Yeah, it sure does.